Hi guys, it's Thursday, September 24th. This is Mrs. Sullivan for Social Studies. So your warm-up today was to give an example of one world organization that was discussed yesterday and describe what they do. If you need to, you could easily go back to the cheat sheet. You just need to pick one of them. So you could tell me one thing about the United Nations, or one thing about the World Trade Organization, or one thing about the World Health Organization. So you can pick any one of those organizations and describe one thing that they do. So again, if you need to, go back to your cheat sheet that was on yesterday's lesson, and you can find at least one sentence to describe those things. So today, we're going to kind of change gears. We've talked about government and economy and talked about some of the organizations and how different countries work together to help things around the world. Now it's time to kind of bring it back to the people. And so we're going to start talking about a citizen's role in the country. So the objective today is to define, compare, and contrast the citizen's role in governments of different countries. Why are we doing that? One of the reasons would be so you can kind of understand the differences between your rights and other people's rights that live in other countries besides ours. How we're going to do that is we're going to kind of listen to information over the citizens and the Bill of Rights that we have, and then we're going to compare citizens' rights to those in other countries, and we have some discussion questions for that. You'll know you've got it today when you can really do these three things, and I'm kind of in the way right here, but you'll know you've got it when you can compare, contrast citizens' roles in different countries by stating if they have more, less, or the same rights. You can also state your opinion and back it with a reason about the roles and rights of citizens. And you are also respectful when you are responding to classmates. First off, before you get started on your assignment, just to kind of reiterate what citizenship really is. So citizenship is being a citizen in a specific country. And to be a citizen, you need to be a legal member of a country. For most countries, like the United States, you have to be born in that country. Or you can be, if your parents are service members and they're overseas and you are born overseas, you are still a citizen of a specific country. You also can get citizenship by immigrating over here. And in the United States, there's legal ways to do that. And you can become an official citizen by coming over, filling out specific paperwork. There's actually a citizenship test that people have to take. And if they pass that, then they gain citizenship to the United States. Now, today we're going to focus kind of on citizens' rights and responsibilities, being a citizen in a country. So citizens' rights come from a number of sources. Our rights a lot come from the Constitution of the United States. A lot of other countries have constitutions. It may just be worded differently. You can also kind of get some of those from cultural traditions and religious laws, depending on what country you are in. There are some countries where religious law is the law of the land. So that is more of the focus. And then a citizen's responsibility would vary by country. Sometimes it's what the country assumes it to be, and sometimes it's people's opinions. And those things can change over time. So it's kind of staying up with what people's thoughts are at that moment. Now, when we look at the United States, some of the things that we're going to look at when we compare our rights to other countries today is kind of our Bill of Rights. The first 10 amendments of the Constitution are your Bill of Rights. And I don't know if you've kind of read through those ever, but here's the first 10. I'm not going to go over all of them, but the big ones would be, so your First Amendment, U.S. citizens have freedom of religion, speech, press, assembly, and petition. So that means that when it's talking about freedom of religion, you can worship anything that you would like. If you want, if you are a Christian, that's fine. If you are a Jew, that's fine. A Muslim, that's fine. And so on. Everybody has freedom of religion here. Freedom of speech means you can say basically whatever you would like to say. Now, Could that get you in trouble? By making someone mad? Sure, it could. But you can say what you want to say. Now, at times, like if you're here at school, there are things that we ask you, not to say out loud, like cussing and so on, and being disrespectful. So those things could get you in trouble. Freedom of press means we're talking about like the magazines, the newspapers, the news stations, television, all of those, they have the freedom to kind of have what they would like up to, a certain extent, because when you talk about TV, you have owners that own the stations that we watch on television, and those owners have a say on what shows up on their station. So if they don't like how the context of something, then they don't have to play it. Idea. Assembly would be like a protest. So we have the right here to have peaceful protest as long as no one is getting hurt and so on. And then petition is more like you can petition your government. You can have people sign and so on certain ideas that you may have. Amendment number 2, it's the citizens have the right to keep and bear arms or own guns is what that means. You have that right. We do kind of set aside in the United States some certain guidelines on that and what type of guns and so forth. Amendment 3 was really made a long time ago when British soldiers were trying to force their way into houses. So the government may not force U.S. citizens to shelter soldiers in their homes. We don't really see that anymore, but just in case if it were ever to happen, that is a right. You don't have to let them in. Amendment 4, searches of personal property, so on. I'm not going to go through the other ones. Basically, we're going to kind of cover a couple, mostly Amendment 1, and kind of look at how some of those rights differ from other countries today. So what you're going to do, you're going to have 4 discussion questions where you're comparing our rights to another country's. And what you have to do for each one is you have to read through a U.S. citizen's right on a specific topic. You then have to read through another country's citizen's right on that same topic. You have to decide if they have more, less, or the same rights as a U.S. citizen. And then you're going to have to state your opinion on those rights based on a question that I'm asking you. After you answer the question, you also are going to have to share your opinion with others on the discussion board. And when you share your opinions with others, some guidelines for you. You need to always be respectful. You can disagree with each other, but you are not going to put down someone else's opinion. They are entitled to that opinion, and you need to respect their right to that opinion. Just remember, you always are respectful. I may not agree with you, but I'm always going to respect your opinion, and I'm going to expect your right to have that opinion. And you may not always agree with someone else in class, and that's fine. You just have to be respectful in that manner. Now I'm going to kind of go through an example of what you're going to have to do. This is actually your very first question. So it's talking about Brazil. So it's telling you to compare. So in the U.S., Congress shall make no law abridging, which means denying or forbidding the freedom of speech. So Congress cannot go out and tell us what we can and cannot say. In Brazil, the expression of thought is free, anonymity being forbidden. So that means that you have the right to the freedom of speech as long as you don't remain anonymous. So you have to say that it's you. Basically, in the United States, you can say something and you can write something and put it out there for people, and you don't even have to put your name on it. You can be anonymous. You don't have to say that it was you that said it. But in Brazil, if you are writing something and it's going out into public, then you have to say your name and you have to put that on there. So based on that, do you think that Brazil citizens have more rights than the United States, less rights than the United States, or the same rights as the United States? Now, it's an opinion, But my opinion would be that they have less rights because we have freedom of speech, and we don't have to put our name on it. We don't have to claim that it's us. In Brazil, they do. So I feel like they have less rights. So I would put that they have less rights than the United States citizens do. And then your opinion asks you, do you think if you are allowed to state your opinion and have freedom of speech, you should have to claim what you say? Or should you be able to say it and not let anyone know it was you? Explain why you think that. So you would just state your opinion. You could say, I believe that you should have to claim what you say. If you're going to say it, then you should own up to it. And people should know that that was you that said it. Or you can disagree with it and you can say that, no, I don't think you should be able to, never mind. You could say that you don't agree with them and that you should be able to remain anonymous. And if you want to say something or write to a newspaper, which doesn't happen very much anymore, or to a magazine, or you want to write to a news station or send a message out there, that you don't have to put your name on it. You're just putting your opinion out there, but you're not claiming it. And you could say that you think that that's okay, as long as you're stating why you think that. Now, that's going to be your first discussion question. You're then going to have to respond to someone else's, stating whether you agree with them or not and why you agree with them or not on whatever they have said on that question. And again, be respectful. You can disagree and agree and not be mean about it. So you're going to have that question to go through. There is another one that talks about voting, how in Brazil it is mandatory if you are over 18 to vote. In the United States, it's not mandatory, meaning you don't have to. So it's just going to ask you if you think it should be mandatory in the United States or not. The other one is going to compare us with Iran and talk about how in the United States, Congress shall make no law denying or forbidding the freedom of press, which means that the news stations, newspapers, television shows, all of those things have freedom of expression. They can state their opinions. They can pretty much say whatever they want to say. In Iran, freedom of they have some freedom, but it cannot infringe on the basic laws of Islam or public rights. So if it goes against religious teachings of Islam, or if it goes against rights that they believe are out there, then they can punish you. For example, recently a wrestler was put to death in Iran because he kind of went against the government and he said things that they didn't like. So you can kind of look into more about that if that interests you. But here that would not happen. That's, you can say what you want to say. You can say that you don't agree with something. So I have a question for you over that. And then you have one over North Korea where it talks about how we have a right to protest here as long as it doesn't hurt others. And then North Korea, they are not allowed to protest, so on. So there's a question over that. So you have 4 basic discussion questions. For each one, you need to make sure that you have responded to them. Whoops, I hit the button too many times. So what you need to do at the end to kind of check yourself is ask yourself, have you answered all 4 discussion questions all the way? Have you replied to a classmate on each of those questions where you've stated if you agreed or disagreed with them and why? And also, were you respectful of others' opinions? Because if you're not being respectful, then that's a whole other issue and people are going to get in trouble, and we don't want any of that. So make sure you are respectful and so on. If you have any questions while you're doing this, let me know. And I will see you later. Have a great day.